And if we just take a look at the chart, you can see we've just been meandering in this beautiful kind of consolidation phase, right? So it is a bearish channel. I mean, let's be clear on that, but that doesn't mean we can't go up a little bit. And if you look now, the high end of the channel is crossing right at that pink trend line, which is actually that 25.5 pivot low from the Terra Luna collapse. So it makes a lot of sense to me that we should see one more push up right into that level. And then the question is, can it break that? And that's going to be the tougher scenario for Bitcoin to get through that 25.5. And then if we, again, and I think we'll look at Ethereum in a little bit, but Ethereum, like you said, is bouncing around this level of resistance. But I do think there's a chance that you could get up to that next one right around 2000 if Bitcoin can make that next move up. So I think for the most part, I'm still neutral to positive. I think that you have a Fed that's on hold. You're likely going to see a reduction in or inflation numbers are going to come down. We've seen commodities really come down substantially over the last couple months. You have to think that's going to filter through to the CPI data this week. And I think that gives the market that ability to have a little bit more risk on before we see maybe some downside in the next few months.
Looking at the Bitcoin chart now today, we find ourselves in an inverted arc. So this is the opposite of a cup pattern. It's a sort of a dome-shaped pattern. And we have been rising, as Patrick just described, in a bit of a bounce off that 20,000 area. And it's taken us up and formed a bearish rising wedge hitting resistance. There are a number of technical analysis techniques and features of this chart which make it more probable that this is going to break to the downside and head down towards that 10 to 12,000 target. I would assess the odds at around about 70 to 80% likely that we break down to see these lower lows, and around about 20 to 30%, excuse me, around about 20 to 30% probability of moving to the upside. So we can't rule out that upside move, but knowing where the support and resistance levels are is going to give us that really early heads up. So those are all marked on the chart for people to see.
If we go in an inflation period where they're just devaluing fiat and we're just adding zeros, right? Because everything, let's say in the 1970s, a barrel of oil was $3, and then after that it was 20, and then 90, and then whatever it goes up. You have to start measuring stuff in adjusted for gold, adjusted for silver, adjusted for something other than fiat, right? Because nominally, let's say we're going to hyperinflation, Bitcoin targets, of course, if they could nominally stay afloat, even go higher. But then after that, if gold goes up higher or faster than Bitcoin, do you really want to hold like Bitcoin or any assets, that are just adding zeros to it?
Okay.
So like, we saw the SPX broke down versus the producer price index, or the Dow Jones Industrial Average break down versus the producer price index. And every time that's happened previously in the past, there's a whole bunch of other events that came from that. Then after that, gold broke out versus SPX. And after that, if gold breaks out versus SPX, silver tracks that ratio chart to practically perfection. Miners, all that type of stuff starts going up once the capital flows, they start shifting away. So Bitcoin, the way we see the chart right now, like Kevin explained it, it's looking a lot like the NASDAQ chart starting to roll over, or NASDAQ priced in gold. So it's nominally, it's very hard to see higher targets for Bitcoin, very hard.
We already got a stronger than expected jobs number. If you couple that with higher inflation again, the markets are going to say, oh my goodness, the Fed has to do 75 basis points in September. And who knows if they can even stop going into the midterm elections at that rate. Right. So I would be very surprised if that happened. But if it did happen, you're looking at a big sell-off, especially because the equity markets and even Bitcoin have rallied over the last couple months, especially since the last Fed meeting when the Fed was much more dovish, right?
Right.
So that alone kind of is building in the fact the markets have been building in this idea that those CPI numbers are coming down. If that doesn't happen, watch out below.
We have carved out this bearish rising pattern in the stock market. So my feeling at the moment is that we are at quite a dangerous point as far as the stock markets are concerned, and crypto by extension. So I wouldn't be looking to take positions in the stock market at this point, and expecting limited upside moves, and limited and also unreliable upside moves. We've seen some pretty strong moves in some of the cryptocurrencies, but as I say, everything in the charts for me is suggesting that this is nearing its end rather than the start of a new strong move to the upside. But as always, the technical charts will inform us when we cross those thresholds as to whether we need to change that analysis. But at the moment, no, I feel that we're closer to the end of this stock market move than the beginning.